Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching The Mojo Story. Now, India is projected to surpass China as the world's most populous country, according to a recent report by the United Nations. The report says that the world population is forecast to reach 8 billion by mid November 2022. The report also says that the global population is growing at its slowest rate since 1950. The latest projections by the United Nations suggest that the world's population could grow to around 8.5 billion in 2030 and 9.7 billion in 2050. What does all of this mean for India? India, obviously, the focus is really on India because the report says that it's going to surpass China as far as population is concerned next year. We're joined by an eminent panel to discuss this. We're joined by Sanghmitra Singh from the Population Foundation of India. We're joined by Madhavan Narayanan, senior journalist, PKD Nambiar, political analyst, Atiq Rehman, a scholar. Welcome all to the show. If I can start with you, Sanghmitra, uh, is the UN report really a cause of concern that India would be surpassing China as far as population is concerned the very next year?
Thank you, Zafar. I don't think there is a cause of concern or a doomsday scenario basis the report, so to speak. In fact, the last UN Population Prospects report in 2019, it had suggested that India is set to surpass China in 2027. So this is really, not unpredictable. It's not something that we were not expecting. It's just that the previous report had envisaged faster growth rate and faster achievement of this milestone. So that is really the way I would look at it. The other thing is that we must be cognizant of the fact that India's population is on course, has begun the process of stabilization. So, for instance, the National Family Health Survey data, which came out earlier this year for the entire country, it showed that we have already attained replacement level fertility. However, we must not forget the fact that we continue to have a large young population base. So, we have a large population which is in the reproductive age group, and they will continue to have children. So that is the reason why this population is going to take some time to stabilize before we start seeing a decline. So yes, I don't think that this is something that is extremely unpredictable.
Right. So it's not a cause of concern you are telling us, but obviously there is going to be a population bulge, young people in our country. Now, that takes us back to the debate whether it's a sort of an asset or a liability in the long run. Obviously, the report says that the population growth across the world is will be slow, but from the India's point of view, obviously we will be growing much faster and surpassing China. Okay, if you can unmute. Yeah, we can't hear you, Sanghmitra. If you can, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
we
I was
can.
saying that the growth rate is a different story. So India's growth rate has definitely gone down substantially if you look at it in the last 35 years. But having
Yeah,
said that, when you have a young population base already, even if all of them on an average have two children, which they already are on an average, that population will take some time to stabilize. So the really the thing that we can do right now is to look at our population as an asset. We have the advantage of the demographic dividend for the next 20, 30 years, where our working age population is way above any other age group. This is an advantage that few nations have. So this gives India tremendous potential to become a strong economically and basically attain our health and development goals really by making the right investments in this population. So I would say that we need to really leverage our demographic dividend instead of worrying about the myth around population explosion, because there is really no explosion. We are just going through a demographic process.
Okay, there's no population explosion. That's an important statement. But coming to the other dimension of this whole debate, is there really a communal twist that's being given to this entire issue? Now, UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that population control program must go on successfully. He talked about population imbalance and said that if it's allowed to happen, it will lead to anarchy. Before we go to our other guests, if we can play that sound bite.
जब हम परिवार नियोजन की बात और जनसंख्या स्त्रीकरण की बात करते हैं तो हमें इस बात को ध्यान में रखना होगा कि जनसंख्या नियंत्रण का कार्यक्रम सफलतापूर्वक आगे बढ़े, लेकिन जनसांख्यिकी असंतुलन की स्थिति भी न पैदा होने पाए। ऐसा नहीं कि किसी वर्ग की आबादी बढ़ने की स्पीड, उनका प्रतिशत ज्यादा हो और कुछ जो मूल निवासी हो उन लोगों की आबादी के स्त्रीकरण में हम लोग जागरूकता के माध्यम से, इन्फोर्समेंट के माध्यम से उसको नियंत्रित करके जनसंख्या संतुलन की स्थिति पैदा करें। और यह एक चिंता का विषय है हर एक उस देश के लिए जहां पे जनसंख्या संतुलन की स्थिति पैदा होती है, जनसांख्यिकीय संतुलन की स्थिति पैदा होती है, रिलीजियस डेमोक्रेसी पर इसका विपरीत असर पड़ता है। फिर वहां पर एक समय के बाद अव्यवस्था और अराजकता जन्म लेने लगती है। और इसलिए जब हम लोग जनसंख्या स्त्रीकरण की बात करें तो समान रूप से समाज में प्रत्येक जाति, मत, मजहब, क्षेत्र, भाषा, इन सबसे ऊपर उठ करके समान रूप से जागरूकता के व्यापक कार्यक्रम को इसके साथ जोड़े जाने की आवश्यकता है।
Well, an important statement, PKD. एक समय के बाद, he's trying to say that it could lead to anarchy.
Absolutely. In fact, there are two elements to it. One is the scientific element, what my co-panelist was just talking about. That is it true that that our population control is coming to the required level of maybe a 2.1 or a 2.7, which may be true to an extent. There is no doubt. Some part of our country are, especially my home state, which is Kerala, is showing that that it is coming down drastically.
Yes.
On the other side, on the other part, couple of maybe a year ago, I was invited to be on a show on a BBC with Dr. S.Y. Qureshi and me. We were having a very solid debate, which was only on the population control. I still have the same question. That is, like a country like India, the ideal population for a country like India is for 80 crore people, maybe a little less than that, or an 800 million, whatever you call it. But here is a population which is almost 1.4 billion. We have been developing as a country from the last several decades. You always, every day and day out, you hear about the kind of development, the roads, infrastructure, the number of housing schemes, so on and so forth. But even in a place like Delhi or in Mumbai, a large number of our population, somebody was telling it's about 25 to 30% of the population are still living in slums or underneath on the roadsides or underneath of the over bridges. They do not even still do have the basic facilities what a human being of 2022 should get. So that means there is already an explosion had taken place. Now we may be stabilizing over a period of time. I do remember when I was a student in the schools, we were used to be told there was a topics on subjects that is all about population control, the challenges what the population is going to, if it is not controlled. Then over a period of time, when I started my business journey about 20 years back, people started talking about, as my co-panel was, it's all about the human resources is a wealth of the nation. It is it is something going to be the assets. Now, my humble question, there are two elements. One is the scientific one, which people now talking about, except the UP, Bihar, and some of the states. Many states are coming down. That is a fact. But the danger which Yogi said, now I'll tell you with the facts if you give me 2 minutes. The fact is that there is a huge demographic changes taking place. Give you an example. For an example, as I said, that Kerala in every index in this country, it leads. We all know that whether it is literacy, health, the human life index, the life expectancy, etc., etc. Almost in everything, it is at par with the West. Now the challenge is that the population of the population, one of the very few states in the country which has really worked hard when it comes to population control, whether it is हम दो हमारा तीन, तो एकदम जैसे कहते हैं ना कि like everybody was following that, हम दो हमारा दो, everybody followed that, हम एक हमारा एक वो भी follow कर रहे थे. But the truth is that only a particular community has always been behaving not in the same spirit. So I can show you now with the facts. For an example, in I'll go straight away to Kerala rather than going to everywhere, because I have a full data in front of me, because I had given a couple of lectures on this.
We need to go to other panelists also.
You go ahead, then you come back, I'll give you the data.
Yeah, sure. In fact, that's the point. A particular community you mentioned about Atiq Rehman. What do you have to say? But opposition has also hit out. I was just going through this Asaduddin Owaisi tweet. He said actually there is no population explosion. He says that on World Population Day, Sanghis will spend time spreading fake news. The truth is, India's youth and kids face a bleak future under Modi's rule. At least half of India's youth are unemployed. India is home to largest malnourished children in the world. India's fertility rate is below replacement level. There's no population explosion. The worry is to ensure a healthier and productive young population, on which Modi government has failed miserably. Atiq Rehman.
Ji. Zafar Saab, it is incumbent on me to remove the cobwebs as a researcher on Islamic studies regarding the religion of Islam and the Muslims in India. What Mr. Nambiar is pinpointing is the orthodox view of the community that can have a large number of children, and the character of the children is Allah, and we do not need over it. This is the orthodox point of view. Now,
Okay, we are having some problem with the audio there. Madhavan, to you, obviously, that's the point that PKD has raised, given that we have got a statement from the UP Chief Minister and the Asaduddin Owaisi, who said actually there is no population explosion. Do you think that we are missing the point rather than focusing on the real issue? This is a digression that is being made.
Zafar, let me make a disclosure that I am a formal student of economics. I've gone to the Sri Ram College of Commerce. Right. I have to say this because these days anybody with a smartphone and a WhatsApp account is considered an economist. Okay, right. So I have to say this, and the second thing I want to say is that I have studied the Nobel Prize winning economist called Jan Tinbergen, who was studied income distribution as a very important aspect of life. And his thesis was that when income differentials between the lowest and the highest is about 5 times, there is scope for instability. He did not speak of, he said 2 things I recall from my college days. One is that as incomes get higher in families, interestingly, the population, you tend to have fewer children. So fewer children improves prosperity of a family, but richer families also have fewer children. So it becomes a virtuous cycle. And India is right now going through a virtuous cycle. As far as the fertility rate of Muslims are concerned, there has been a dramatic decline from 2.6 in 2015-16 to 2.3 in 2019-21. Okay. So Muslims are not behind the Hindus or national average significantly enough for us to get worried about. And I would also like to mention that it is not just about Muslims or, the most important point in the soundbite that you played from Yogi Adityanath, he used the word Moolwasi, which is totally irrelevant to constitutional nationalism, which India follows, in which there is free movement of people within the borders of the country in pursuit of profession or livelihood. So the important point to remember is that India does not follow the principle of homeland for nationalism. It follows the principles of citizenship under the constitutional law. Okay, it does not follow ethnicity. The preamble of the constitution very clearly says so. So anybody who uses Moolwasi is basically challenging the constitution of the Republic of India on which the consensus of the nationhood is based. The third point I want to mention is that we need to take into account migration as a critical factor in the 21st century, along with education. Female literacy plays a major role, and one of the policy prescriptions we could have is to have, Bihar, for instance, has a very high replacement rate of 3, which is actually tilting the national average. Meghalaya and Bihar, surprisingly, are a bigger problem. Rajasthan has only 2.0. So it's Bihar, UP, and Madhya Pradesh, the Bimaru states, that are creating problems. Now, but that may change fast thanks to migration, because as people get educated and even semi-skilled and unskilled people migrate for better economic opportunities, the population of various states will also become balanced, because the constitution's forefathers and founding fathers were visionaries. They had actually laid out conditions for economic growth as well as demographic management properly. If economic growth, income distribution, and free movement of people is properly managed, as Sanghmitra said, we will be talking about a demographic dividend rather than a population problem. So modern economics, I want to use the word modern about 156 times if you want in this show, because most of the thinking rooted in simplistic things about wo humse zyada ho gaya, ye humse zyada ho gaya, doesn't make a difference. The game has shifted to the quality of population. If you look at Tamil Nadu, the replacement rate is around 1.5 or 6. I think Sanghmitra would be able to clarify that better. Tamil Nadu is already in Europe as far as economic aspirations are concerned. And therefore, UP would do well to send a team to find out how to increase female literacy, how to set up schools for women irrespective of community, and how that will improve the population. I agree that population management is an issue, but I would prefer to use the word management rather than control, because management includes education levels, income levels, industrial management. And Tinbergen once, won the Nobel Prize for Economics, said that multiple policy objectives require multiple instruments. So a simplistic model of population control will not work. And I will not listen to anyone except real economists and real experts on this. Casual panchayat level banter is not going to solve the nation's problems.
Atiq Rehman, you wanted to complete your point. Yes, PKD, I'll come back to you. But Atiq, we lost the line with Atiq Rehman. Please go ahead, Atiq Rehman, before I go to PKD.
Am I audible, Aga Sahab?
Yes.
Yes. So, the expert view and the communal view is very much on our panel, and we can make out how the things go, with the communal overtone. What I was pointing out earlier, Aga Sahab, is, when the Muslims are charged, so it's incumbent on me to remove the charge. The orthodox view of population with the Muslim societies were up till, I can agree, up till the 1980s or 70s. After that, the Muslims, the intellectuals, the people on the field, they tried to clarify the Muslim point of view related to a population. And I will quote Caliph Umar regarding this, which, went down to the population and they found out very easier for the family planning. What Caliph Umar said was that abortion was permissible where it was difficult for a woman to deliver, which is known as Urse Viladat, or there were too many children, Khatrat-e Ayal. So conception is possible in the Muslim societies when we quote these figures. Then poverty, Killat-e Mal. If there is, too many people in the family and one bread earner, that also creates, some kind of an imbalancing, bringing up the family. These things went with even Ali being quoted. Ali radiallahu ta'ala also quoted that family planning is a must in the Muslim society if these things are to be cropped up. So the orthodox view was working with the Muslim society. And I can agree, Mr. Nambiar, up till 80s. Now the Muslim population, the other panelists have also quoted, why don't you go by the by the professional point of view rather than going by the orthodox and the communal overtones of the politicians. So Aga Sahab, we can clearly find that population can be an asset if politicization and communalization is at bay.
Let PKD respond. Obviously, you raised this point, and also Madhavan, reminding that the fertility rate of Muslims and also Hindus have come down actually in this country. PKD, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I agree with each one of you, and there is whether it is Atiq Saab or Mr. Madhavan, and with all due respect to you, I also little learned the economics in the college. Maybe may not be of Sri Ram College of in Delhi, but in Payyanur College in Kerala. Now, I'll tell you the reason. There is a slight difference. The population is not about economics. That's first and foremost. Let me correct you this for here forever. Population is not about just for the, it has got socio, political, religious, so many ramifications. Since we were talking about the data, there is nothing called as communal, whatever I am talking. There is nothing called as fundamentalism, what I am talking about. I will go clearly by the data. I have the whole national data, but I don't want to go there right now. I will specifically go to one because Atiq Saab said that 80s till 80s or early 90s, it was a truth, but it is not the truth now. Now, let me go in the early 1900. The population of Kerala was 82% of the overall population of Kerala was Hindus. Then Muslims and Christians were equal. Forget about that also. That was a big, more than a century old. Now comes to 1951, after our independence. One of the first population, the census was happened. The population of 62% were Hindus. Muslims were 17.53%. Christians were 21%. I'm talking about only the Kerala. Hindus in 2001, after 1951, I'm straight away coming to 2001. Hindus have become 55%. Muslims have become 25%. Christians have come down to 19%. Okay, that's okay. Now coming to 2011, which was the last census. Hindus 54 point, Hindus have further come down to 52% or something like that. Muslims have become 27%. Christians have further come down to 18 point something, some percentage. Now you tell me, is the demographic changes happening or only the pure economics happening? And the Muslims in the state of Kerala are the most educated in this country. They are economically upward, even above the Hindus in the state of Kerala. Now coming to that also, let's go to the again. I'm quoting the last year's economic. Every year the state government come up with a report which is called as economic survey report. The birth ratio of Muslims in 2016 to or in the before that is 40, every 27% of the population that is Muslims, 53% of the population that is Hindu, and for every 100 child which is born in the state of Kerala today, 43 of them are Muslims out of the 27%. Now coming to the 54% or a 53% of the Hindus produce only 40 kids. Now tell me which logic of economics, which logics of democracy, and average productivity rate of Hindus have come down to 1.4, and the average productivity rate of Muslims in the state of Kerala has gone almost 3%. Now tell me which logic should I apply? And this is, I'm talking about the most educated state of the country. Now, not only that. No, 1 second more. I won't take much time. Okay. I'll tell you another thing. What is the danger which, when I'm talking about it, when I say this, I'm not an anti-Muslim. I have born and brought up amongst most of my classmates were the Muslims. I still employ a lot of them. So I don't want any certificate from anyone. So but the truth is truth. Now I'll give you another example. That when I was in the Udupi, the Malabar region, from Malappuram to the Goan coast, I was traveling for 10 days in the last week. You know what is the danger it brings in? The food habits have completely changed. Beef has become like a national food of that region. I have nothing against it. It's your right to eat. Shawarma, all the food habits have changed. I feel so sad that most of the way the people dress in that particular coast, the entire
Okay.
Malabar coast has completely changed.
Okay. You're
To
saying
my
that
utter surprise, even the retail shops do have. Tell me, in Kerala में अरबी के ऊपर बोर्ड लगाने का क्या मतलब है आपको? क्या जरूरत है आपको? पूछ रहा हूँ मैं आपको. Why not Hindi, not Tamil, not English, not even Malayalam? You have signboards of retail shops today right in Arabic. So
let Madhavan, but before I go to Madhavan, Sanghmitra, quickly you want to come in and respond?
Yeah. What I'd like to say in response to Mr. Nambiar is, yes, population is a socio-economic issue. It's not a political issue. It's not an electoral issue. As far as you're talking about data is concerned, yes, we must look at data, but we must look at disaggregated data. I'm going to talk about the National Family Health Survey, which is Ministry of Health and Family Welfare's own data. Fertility declines by education level of women. So when you look at the absolute fertility rate, please don't look at the absolute numbers. You must also compare how fertility rates are lower among women with more than 10 years of education in, say, a state like UP. And it's going to be high for women who are not educated, whether they are Hindu, whether they are Muslim, whether they are Sikh. It's going to be high. I mean, sir, this is what I do on a daily basis. I analyze data.
It's completely
the second
wrong.
thing I want to say is
the statement has no value. Eh? Whatever
this is government of India's data. This is
no,
not
I'm
my
coming
data.
to that. So the problem is the selective data. So the government of India's data is absolutely right. I am not going to dispute that. The problem right now, the population issue in India is that, look at from the western UP, from the Delhi to Rampur till to the Nepal border. What is the percentage of population growth has happened? In the Assam, all the neighboring Bangladeshi neighboring districts, what is the population explosion did happen?
We're talking about
that, not only that. So that way you do the micro data analysis of population, it needs to be. I am only
let Sanghmitra complete. Let PKD let her complete her point.
Only one thing. Let's discuss the demographic changes which is taking place. That leads to a cultural change. That leads to a social.
You made your point. You made your point, PKD. You explained it also, but let her complete her point. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was saying, and I also want to add that Muslims have also seen the largest decline in total fertility rate among all religious groups. This is also Government of India's data, National Family Health Surveys data, 2019-21. Fertility decline is a natural phenomenon with access to education, with access to contraceptives, with access to employment opportunities. We must invest in our people. And that is what is going to lead to a fertility decline as a natural phenomenon. If we look at the National Family Planning Program of Government of India also, they totally propagate a voluntary approach. So there is no such coercive policy or stand that Government of India is taking. For that matter, Uttar Pradesh released a population policy, UP population policy last year on World Population Day on July 11th. And that policy document also is completely rights-based and voluntary in approach. So even if you talk about the political and policy stand, if you look at policy documents, they are all advocating for a voluntary approach towards stabilizing a country's population. And that is really what any developed country has done in the world. That is the approach that we need to adopt.
Okay. Madhavan, Narayanan, yeah.
I want to make a few points. First of all, I'm concerned. I mean, I kind of understand Mr. Nambiar's position, but the Constitution of India does not run on cultural grounds. So culture becomes an individual problem, not a national problem. Okay, this country is defined by multiculturalism, in which various cultures, including beef and Arabic, are part of it. Now, the point is that if you go to Pondicherry today, you will see name boards in French even today. And if you go to Goa, you will see Portuguese. Right now, there is a Portuguese origin prime minister of Indian origin who is the prime minister of Portugal, because India has always been globalized, and we, as the Rig Veda very rightly said, let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. The word monsoon itself comes from the Arabic word mawsam, and it hits Kerala first. So first, let me say that culture may be a personal matter of anxiety, just like beef, but don't confuse the personal with the objectively constitutional matter of the country. Second thing is, I would love to know what is the female literacy ratio of Muslims in women in Kerala. And if there is a case,
100%.
there is a
100%.
okay, if that is okay, fine, take it a point.
100%.
Yeah. So there could be an
Economically,
issue from
they are advanced. Economically, they are advanced.
That makes it very interesting,
Now,
which means
so the problem is that Sanghmitra said one point, which I'm very happy that she said that the Muslim population, the ratio is coming down. Can you just compare the between the Hindus and the Muslims in at least in 5 states?
no.
Then I will tell you the danger.
Let Madhavan.
Then I will tell you the danger.
Yeah, let
him let us give that data.
Let me complete.
Let Madhavan complete.
If you want to compare Hindus with Muslims and they are economically advanced, then the problem is over. The state does not have to worry about the resources. So if they are Muslims and they are working hard, if they are trading in, there are Hindu Malayalis working in the Gulf. So I would argue that India has an excellent free trade agreement now with the UAE. So both Hindu Malayalis and Muslim Malayalis work in countries including Saudi Arabia and UAE.
You tell me the history of Kashmir. No. Just let me ask you, where is the demographic change leads to? The finest example is Kashmir. Tell me 200 years ago, what was the demographic reality of Kashmir? Or 300 years before, what was the demographic reality of Kashmir?
Kashmir has gone quite different phase.
I'm not talking about, not only that, go to Assam. No, let me tell you, go to Assam. Tell me, Sanghmitra, just ask.
Sir, why you are communalizing the whole debate?
No, I'm not communalizing. I'm telling you.
Yes, you are communalizing. I'll say how you are communalizing.
I'm saying there is a demographic change which is taking place.
If the democratic change is for betterment, what is the problem?
It is not.
Sir, if the demographic change is for betterment, they are getting a foreign exchange.
Where is the betterment is coming in? Where is the betterment?
I'll tell you.
Please,
give me a chance.
One at a time. PKD, let Madhavan complete. Let Madhavan complete his point, and then.
No, actually, I don't want this. Look, I'm on Mojo because I'm allowed to speak and speak sensibly. I don't get into low-level channels level of discourse here. Let me be very clear. I want the moderators to mute any person who challenges my view.
No, you complete your point. Then obviously we'll.
I want to say that economic problems, if the Muslims are economically advanced, there is a problem. If the Muslims are economically backward, like in UP, again, there is a problem. So if you see Muslims as a problem, we need to understand that there may be historical reasons for anxieties related to Muslims, but we are living in a modern world. Like I told you, I'm willing to use that word 156 times in the program. Even during Mughal rule, the population of Muslims was not significant enough in India for Hindus to be demographically changed, okay, in spite of conversions and in spite of migration. Today, there is a lot of out-migration, not only to the Gulf, but population, demographic transition is a continuous process. I agree that illegal immigration needs to be curbed, whether it is in Assam or maybe via Bangladesh. But let us not confuse illegal immigration with the legitimate growth of Indian Muslims, where data has increasingly, if they are economically advanced, you cannot hold it against them. And if they are, if their fertility rate has come down, as Sanghmitra and others pointed out, data very clearly shows they are not demographically increasing necessarily across the country. Kerala is not the whole of the republic. It's a very small part of the republic. So we need to understand, if we want to really get anxious over historical factors, there's no end to this. Because 300 years ago, there was no aeroplanes. Today, there are aeroplanes. So you cannot use history as a precedent for everything. That is a very simplistic way of looking at things. Also, whether it is Kashmir, I agree that we need to fight terrorism. We need to fight any pan-Islamism. We need to fight political Islam as a political level, because it goes against the Constitution of India, in which the Supreme Court has already ruled under that the 42nd Amendment was illegal. It shows that the basic structure of the Constitution cannot be tempered with. So let us stick to the Constitution as our guiding force, not personal ideas of history, because I can always say my ancestors in Tamil Nadu were ruling over Indonesia and Malaysia, and therefore I can go and put my flag there and start ruling over Indonesia. It doesn't happen like that. Please understand, this is the year Ponniyin Selvan is going to be released as a movie. It shows the Chola supremacy. All these, Bharat is nothing in front of Tamil Nadu. because Tamil Nadu was a naval superpower. I cannot go back and say I want to go to Akhand Tamil Nadu, because Akhand Tamil Nadu included Indonesia and Malaysia. So let us not talk history. Let us talk pragmatic transition for economic and social welfare. Culture is a private matter.
Right. So let's have a final round of comments from all our panelists. PKD, starting with you.
See, as I said once again, if I'm sounding like a fundamentalist or a communalist, then I am sorry. I can only tell you that I am not. But I'm whatever data which I am quoting, and why I am quoting is I'm not. There is population control is very much needed. As I said, ideal population for this country, none of our natural resources are growing as the population is growing. Scientifically, the population should be below, at least 80 crore. So we are way ahead than that. Yes, it is true that it is overall our the ratio of our growth is coming down. That is scientific and the data is right. But then there is a problem. In the western UP, from Delhi to Uttarakhand border, there is a growth of Muslim population dynastic. From Bihar to Nepal border, the Chambaran to Santal to Pakmana to Jharkhand, there is a huge population increase of Muslims. Not only that, just quickly coming in, completing it. Many parts of West Bengal, whereas for an example, districts like Dinapur, Birham, all these places of Hindus have already become a minority, and Madhavan may not have any problem. I do have an issue because there is a story of Assam is also not different. The eastern border entirely is going for a demographic change. Northeast has become completely a Christian state from a 3% in 1900. Today it is 75%. Kashmir is not a different. So demographic change will be completely making a cultural change, which is not in the interest of any national.
So demographic change will lead to a cultural change. Atiq Rehman, your last.
So he himself, Mr. Nambiar, you are exposing yourself. You are mirroring the political and the communal overtones. Why I say so? By your own arguments, you say that the Kerala Muslims are educationally so advanced. I would like to ask you, these advanced Kerala Muslims go abroad. They are, very formidable presence in the UAE and the Gulf country. How much foreign exchange do they get? So you have a problem with the Muslims when they are earning a good foreign exchange for your country. That's problematic to you. And as Mr. Madhavan pointed out, when they are not advanced, there is a problem. So what do you wish to say? The Muslims should be pushed to the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea? That's communal on your part. This is a serious debate on population. Let us equip ourselves with scientific data rather than these communal overtones, sir.
Okay, last word to you, Sanghmitra.
Yeah, I would really like to say that we need to put people before numbers. We can't just say that we have a certain population, so then we have to cut it down immediately. We need to put people before numbers. So we have a large population today. We are going to be the most populous country in the world. What do we want to do with that population? What investments do we want to make? The example of Kerala that we've been listening to, Kerala is a model state in this country. That TFR declined a decade ago. The women are educated, they have 100% literacy. They were the first state to really give at-par health services to people during COVID-19 in the beginning. These are major achievements for a state in the country. That is what we need to be focusing on.
Yes, and India is a huge country. We cannot just be talking about Kerala only. Yeah, India is a huge country. Maybe we cannot just be talking about Kerala and UP only. Madhavan, last word.
One small joke. Yeah. I'm just cute. I want to ask a cute question. No answers there. Why are there more Tamilians in the United States of America than Keralites? I want to know. Once we answer that question, a lot of other questions will be indirectly answered.
Simple scientific population is more in Tamil Nadu than in Kerala. 3 crores and 6 crores. It's very simple. It's very simple logic. I think you need to go back to those college.
We are at the end of our discussion. Thanks so much to all of you for joining. Indeed, it's a very important topic that needs to be discussed and focused on and understood in a better way. Thanks to all our panelists for joining us today. That's all we have in the show. Thanks for watching.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.